Hello, welcome back to Super Smash or Pass. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a viewer-requested character and a huge character from the N64 era, Banjo and Kazooie. I guess they're really two characters, but you know, you get the point. So, Banjo and Kazooie first made their appearance in their self-titled N64 game back in 1998, which, fun fact, is also the year I was born, in obviously Banjo Kazooie. They later had a sequel in 2000, Banjo Tooie, and that's it. There were no other Banjo games. There's just two. There's no more.
And holy shit! We'll always love you. I can't believe you did this to me. God damn it! How could you do this to me?
So John, you're okay with me using that bit on my show, right?
Fuck you!
All right, thanks. No problem. Now, you might think that Banjo Kazooie might play a little bit similarly to other characters in this roster. For example, Mario, or maybe even like the first episode we talked about Crash Bandicoot and how he would probably play at least a little bit similar to Mario because of how platformers work generally. But Banjo and Kazooie have a plethora of different moves, as well as transformations from Mumbo Jumbo that allow them to be completely different than anybody in the roster. I've seen a lot of people talking about how Banjo and Kazooie could be Echo Fighters for the Duck Hunt dog and the Duck Hunt bird, or just Duck Hunt duo or trio, whatever you want to call them. And that never made sense to me because those characters are completely different. Sure, I mean, theoretically, you could probably swap out stuff to make Banjo and Kazooie an Echo Fighter of Duck Hunt, but why would you ever do that? There's nothing about them, aside from the fact that they are two animals and one happens to be a bird, that are similar. I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me, and I don't understand why people are making that comparison, because really, there's nothing there to me. I really do think that Banjo-Kazooie would have a completely unique moveset, especially if they decide to bring in the transformations. And so, of course, for the Final Smash, you gotta bring in the mighty Jinjonator. Now, I thought that maybe you could pull out a transformation, but in thinking about it, I think the Jinjonator would probably be the funniest Final Smash for them, and I think that's a cool thing to do. You know, just having this giant Jinjo with the other Jinjos flying around the stage, destroying stuff, it'd be hilarious. And since we usually talk about assist trophies for these third-party characters in this section as well, I think that they should bring in both Mumbo Jumbo and Gruntilda to be assist trophies in this. Now, Gruntilda, I think, should work where almost like a fusion of a couple things. So I think they should bring in that Latios, or Kit and Kat type of deal, where she flies around the stage on her broomstick, maybe throwing like potions and stuff at people. I think that could be fun. But I also think they should add elements from the Devil Assist Trophy, where you see her little speech bubble pop up at the bottom of the stage, and she's like rhyming and making fun of people on the stage. Just because I think it's an iconic part of her character, as well as just the game itself, and it'd be a lot of fun, and add a little bit more hecticness to it that I think Banjo-Kazooie would approve of. As for Mumbo Jumbo, I don't know what he could do. I think he'd have to like mess with the stage in some way, shape, or form. Whether it be something like Palkia where it flips upside down, or he messes with the controls of the character. I think it'd be fun if he could just transform them into different movesets or something temporarily. I think that could be funny, but I think that's too much to ask for an assist trophy. But I don't know. Mumbo Jumbo would do something with magic, and I think it'd be something disruptive to mess the player. Are Banjo and Kazooie relevant? And I know a lot of you guys, with my last episode on Geno, really pointed out that, well, relevancy isn't exactly important. And well, to some degree, that is true. I do think it's important to talk about relevancy because we do know that Sakurai looks at that for characters. Now, yes, with some characters, relevancy transcends and it doesn't really matter. You know, it's more important who they are. But I really do think that with a character like Banjo-Kazooie or King K. Rool, these sometimes more past characters, it is important to talk about relevancy because I do think relevancy can disqualify some characters. If it's a character that hasn't shown up in forever and only showed up in one game, that kind of a character I just don't think has a place in Smash. Like, let's talk about, for example, I don't know, what's a good character to throw in here? King Wart from Mario Brothers 2. King Wart isn't a relevant character. King Wart would never, ever appear as a fighter in Super Smash Bros., and it doesn't make sense. That's why I talk about this segment. But in going with that, do I think Banjo and Kazooie are relevant enough to be in this game? That's a question I don't really know if I have an answer to be honest, because while Banjo and Kazooie are super, super important to gaming in my opinion, especially to the N64 era, and a lot of gamers really have them stuck in their minds, even someone like me, I've only ever played Banjo Kazooie once, and I don't really know these characters. In fact, like I told you, the game came out the year I was born. I never had a chance to experience Banjo and Kazooie really. But even then, I somehow have this, not nostalgia, but this lingering for them. You know, I want to see them in the game. I have fond memories of the music and stuff, even though I never experienced it myself. It's very strange. You know, I experienced it through videos and through listening to music later on and all this other stuff, but that era makes me happy in a similar way, I think, to how my nostalgia works for games that I did play when I was younger, like Spyro. So I think it doesn't really matter that maybe younger gamers don't know who they are. I do think that because they are such fan favorites and because they left such a big hole where they used to be that isn't there anymore, and the fact that they haven't been around for about 18 years now really adds to it, you know? And I mean, honestly, it feels like there's a missing hole in the Smash roster when you think about it, because if you look at everyone who's there, Banjo and Kazooie really are some of the final characters that need to be put in there. And of course, they were supposed to be in the original Super Smash Bros. For the N64. They were removed, but they were going to be one of the characters that are going to be in that game, so Sakurai is aware of these characters. And of course, the issue with Banjo and Kazooie, along with any other Rare characters like Conker or whatever, is that Rare is now owned by Microsoft. And Phil Spencer has said on various occasions that he's willing to work with Nintendo on this, he's willing to see them in there, and I really do think they're being honest there. And Microsoft and Nintendo seem to have a pretty good relationship right now with all the Minecraft stuff that's going on and whatnot. So I do think that this is a good chance for Banjo and Kazooie. This is probably the best chance they've ever had. But I really do think the ball falls in Nintendo's court right now. You know, I think Microsoft would be game because they have nothing to lose from it. But is that true for Nintendo? While Cloud and like Ryu or Mega Man or Pac-Man, all of these third-party characters, they're not from competitor consoles, right? That's a big factor here. Sega can still make games for Nintendo whenever they want. Capcom can still make games for Nintendo whenever they want. All of these things are very true of them, right? So by putting them in their game, they're not helping out competitors. They're actually benefiting themselves because it's like, hey, well, we put your character in this. Let's start a good relationship and get some more games on our consoles. That's a different story with Microsoft. When they're playing with Microsoft, they have to realize that putting Banjo and Kazooie in their game, while it'd be great for gamers and it'd be amazing for the fans, right? Is it a good business move? Because they'd be putting a competitor on their system and promoting a competitor. Now, if that somehow leads to a potential where Banjo and Kazooie come out on the Switch and have a new game on the Switch as well as the Xbox, that'd be cool. But I don't really see that happening. And while yes, I could still see it happening, I'm not denying that I could see this happening. I do think that's a really big conversation Nintendo would have to have, because at the end of the day, like I've been saying, it's blatantly being like, hey, this is our competitor character, go check him out. Go buy an Xbox. You know, it's weird when you think about it that way, especially since they have such a big history with Nintendo. It's a strange conversation, but I do think that is a factor that we have to take in here, and a pretty big one at that. Even though all this mumbo-jumbo, pun intended, is involved with Banjo and Kazooie and, you know, the potential Microsoft stuff, I still think the Banjo Kazooie are possible characters. I still think that Nintendo realizes that these characters are huge, huge, important characters in their history, and for that reason, I'm going to be giving Banjo and Kazooie the verdict of Now, there's something I want to implement with this show going forward where we don't just get my verdict anymore. I would like to obviously give my verdict because that's a part of the show, but if you see this little eye in the corner, there's going to be a little poll there, and I'll pass on the question to you. Do you give Banjo and Kazooie a smash, or are you giving them a pass? And next week, on next week's video, we'll go over what you guys gave them as a verdict. So that's all for today's episode. What do you think? Am I crazy for hoping these Microsoft characters get in, or is the Nintendo nostalgia enough to bring them to Super Smash Bros.? And we're not only talking about Ultimate here. I want to make that important. While yes, the logo is based on Ultimate, We're talking about their possibility for Smash Brothers games in general, not just for Super Smash Brothers 4 or 5 or 6. 5 or 6. I consider it 5. I know some of you consider it 6. Whatever, we'll put it at Ultimate. It's not just about Ultimate, it's about all future Super Smash Brothers as well. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Who would you like to see get the Super Smash or Pass treatment here on the channel? See you guys next time.